Hello, my name is Cynthia Allen. I'm a professor in the Exercise and Sports Science Department. I'm going to give you a short lecture. I hate that this is recorded because it is a lecture when I would prefer to talk with you and have you ask questions. I'm going to talk to you about nutrition. I've been struggling to figure out what to talk about in 15 minutes because we could spend a long time, a full semester talking about nutrition and trying to unpack the messages we've got from our parents, from advertisements about what we should eat and how we should feel about ourselves and about our bodies. Before I go any further, I want to mention if any of you are triggered by food, you have an eating disorder, and eating disorders include undereating, anorexia, include binging and throwing up, bulimia, and include binging and not throwing up. That's an overeating disorder. If you're struggling with anything like that right now, just push pause. Let your instructor know that you prefer not to go into any more about nutrition, and strongly consider getting some help, professional help from a therapist and a registered dietitian. I'll talk more about who that is, registered dietitian, to help you figure out how you can have food back in your life without being so painful. I'm going to start by talking about this flyer that I put together. I call it Nutrition 101. Nutrients is the term for these substances that we have to have in order to stay alive. Carbohydrates, lipids, which is the broad name for fats, protein, vitamins, minerals, and just down here you can't quite see is water. There we go. The main takeaway in this very short lecture is that please think about, find a way to avoid thinking of carbs as good or bad, and proteins as good or bad, and fats as good or bad. We need all of them. The question of how much and when and which type is quite complex. And I therefore encourage you to find an app that you can start entering some of the foods that you're eating and exploring healthy alternatives, or go to this website, eatright.org. It's the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. The premier organization for persons who talk about nutrition is Registered Dietitian Nutritionist, RDN. And this organization will help you find a trained professional that can help you figure out what you're eating, why you're eating it, maybe make some better choices. Anyone can call themselves a nutritionist, but only people who get a 4-year degree, who spend thousands of hours with an already trained RDN, and then pass a national certifying exam can call themselves an RDN. That's why I recommend you track someone down like that who really understands the science behind what they're telling you and will stay away from fads that are popular and trying to push supplements on you. If you work with someone and they try to push supplements or herbs are a type of supplement, essential oils, anything like that, that's quackery, and you want to stay away from that. Now, I firmly believe that supplements, meditation, just forgot what it's called, they put the needles, acupuncture, all those things can be a part of healthy living, can be helpful on your journey of trying to eat better, but I don't think they're the answer. And so just be careful of people who try to convince you that you need to buy their product. The first step for you then is to find an app that you like and input what you eat. Note here, a special note here, if you're serious about changing your diet, you have to buy measuring cups, measuring spoons, because if you just guessed how much you eat, it's not very helpful. We're not good at guessing how much is a cup and how much is a tablespoon. So make an investment in buying those items and actually measure your food, put it into one of these apps. There's 100 other apps out there that are very good. And you can start getting a handle on how many carbs am I getting? How much protein am I getting? And there should be a mechanism in each of these apps where you put in your height, your weight, your age, and the best ones ask you to put in your activity level, because that makes a big difference. So make sure you find one that asks you to put in how many hours you sleep, how many hours you work out, and it will estimate for you how much protein and how much carbs you need in a day. Many of you watching this are athletes, and dancers are athletes, so it's not just people who chase balls. Many of you are athletes and you're not getting enough calories. So if you are someone who is trying to perform in a sport or an event, a triathlete, and you just cannot seem to improve your time and you're tired, you're probably not getting enough carbohydrate. One of my primary philosophies when I talk with people about nutrition is learning to listen to and trust our gut. We have learned in America how to overeat. We eat things out of a package. The serving sizes are huge, and we just drink and eat mindlessly. We're doing social media. We're on the computer. We're hanging out with friends, and we're just not really even paying attention to what we're eating. And we constantly eat till we're sick. We overeat. Sometimes we eat because we're bored. Sometimes we eat because we're stressed. And if you can learn to notice this and find an alternative to eating food when you're stressed. We should only eat food when we're really hungry and when we need to eat. And, that's not easy to learn. I'm a big proponent of mental health professionals. If you're someone who's really struggling, trying to unlink how you feel and what you eat, how you feel about yourself after what you eat, I encourage you to find a mental health professional who has training in eating disorders, who can help you be more compassionate to yourself, can help you find things to eat or do or drink that are a little bit more healthy when you're stressed or bored. I just think all Americans should have free mental health therapy. I think we all could benefit a lot from trying to look honestly at how we think, how we act, and the effect that is having on our lives. If you're interested in getting started on this journey, I have included a podcast. Let me make that a little bit bigger so you can see it. It's a link to a podcast, Trust Your Gut, A Beginner's Guide to Intuitive Eating. It might start you down that journey of figuring out how you can try to be more aware of how you feel and the food choices you make based on your feelings, rather than simply, I need to eat for physical reasons, having enough energy. The simplest way to begin examining your diet may be to use this food plate. I teach a class, EXS 2200. It is Nutrition for Health and Performance. And one thing I mentioned to people in that class is that eating well is simple. I'm sure I could hand you all out a quiz and we could appropriately put foods into healthy, non-healthy categories. It's very simple, but it's not easy. It's not easy, is it? One way to get started on your journey is to look at the food plate. Every time you eat, number one, start putting your food on a plate. Many of us eat out so much, and that can just even be the first awareness that you have. Oh my gosh, I didn't realize how often I eat out, or how often I eat on the run, or how often everything I eat is in a package. The first step may be just getting a plate out and putting foods on a plate and starting to think about is half of my plate fruits and vegetables. Note that only a quarter of your plate needs to be protein. It's a fad. It's a fad right now to think that you need all protein all the time. We don't have time to go into that. And then a quarter of your plate would be whole grains. Just a little bit of dairy over here. Doesn't need to be significant. Half of your plate then should be whole fruits and vegetables. And the way you can determine something is whole, think about how close is this food I'm eating to have just come out of the dirt or just off the tree. So you look at the food and you think, how many steps did this food go through from where it was harvested to when it's on my plate? And that can give you a sense of the level of processing in the food that you're eating. I want to acknowledge here that many of you are eating at the CAF, and it can be a challenge. I eat at the CAF once or twice a semester to show solidarity for you all, and it is a challenge. You know, I ate 4 years on campus as an undergrad, and I remember how that felt, and you got sick of the food. You are going to need to work with a professional because there are many, many strategies to help you figure out how to do this with a mini fridge in your dorm and with making some very strategic choices at the CAF. And if you have an option, cook at home on the weekend and bring it with you. There's many, many strategies. It's just that I can't share them all with you right now because I would need to talk with you one-on-one about what your finances are and if you have access to a car, a lot of things that, again, here's the plug, a registered dietitian would be able to help you with. Go to eatright.org, find someone who's an RDN that can help you brainstorm and plan how you can get more fresh fruit and vegetables into your day. It is not more expensive to eat well. I wish I had an hour. I spend an hour and a half with on this topic with my students in my class. It's actually cheaper to cook and buy whole foods than it is to buy packaged foods, and you don't have to believe me. Do the math yourself. It just does take more time. It takes more time to prepare it, and because it's a fresh fruit, vegetable, fresh grain, it's not going to stay on your shelf for a week, and so you have to shop more frequently. That's another way to determine if foods are highly processed. If you can leave it on your shelf for more than a couple days and it doesn't go bad, it's highly processed. And that doesn't mean it's bad. Thank heavens we have highly processed foods or we'd all be sick all the time. So processing is important. It has its place. You just want to try to eat more and more foods that are not highly processed. So that's all I have for you for this lecture. I encourage each of you to look at the sources on the Schoology page. Just begin your journey of learning more about the foods that you eat, learning more about how you can eat a little bit healthier, and love your body. No matter what shape you are, the shape of your body, how much you weigh, does not determine your worth. So let that thought go. Celebrate who you are. Find a way to feel better about your life if that's what nutrition does for you. Otherwise, let it go for these 4 years. Let go of the nutrition part while it's a challenge on campus to eat well, and bump up your exercise the next 4 years. Spend the next 4 years really focusing on adding an hour a day of movement and use that to help moderate your weight as you're in college. And then once you leave college and you have an opportunity and resources to cook your own food, you can really begin a beautiful journey of loving what you eat, eating food that tastes good, stopping when you're full. I wish you the best on your journey. My email is callen1 if any of you want to reach out with any questions you may have. I can try to help steer you in the right direction.